When I pulled into the driveway after a night repair call, still smelling of burnt copper and city dust, my neighbor George stepped outside in slippers and fury. "Your grandkids were loud again last night." I stared at him. "I don't have grandkids." George blanched. "Then why the heck did I see your daughter carrying 2 bodies into your house at 1 a.m, every night this week, limp like they couldn't walk?" The wrench slipped from my hand. Before we continue, we ask you to hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We would like to get to know our audience better. And suddenly, every cold, uneasy silence in my home made sense. The next day, I pretended to leave town. I climbed into the attic, and 1 hour later, I heard something that changed everything. The attic smelled like old insulation and forgotten summers. I pressed my back against the rafters, knees drawn up, trying not to think about how pathetic this was. A 46-year-old man hiding in his own house like some paranoid spy. But George's words wouldn't leave me alone. Bodies. Limp bodies. I'd told Lena I had a 3-day emergency assignment upstate. Electrical grid failure, all hands required. She'd barely looked up from her phone when I explained it. Just nodded and said, "Cool, see you whenever." That should have been my first clue. The house had felt wrong for weeks now. Food disappearing faster than usual. Strange smells in the morning, stale beer, cigarette smoke, something sharp and chemical I couldn't name. Lena always had an explanation. A friend stopped by. She had a cold and used menthol rub. The neighbors were smoking again, and it drifted through the vents. I believed her because I wanted to. 20 years of raising her alone does that to you. Makes you soft. Makes you ignore the small inconsistencies because facing them means admitting you failed somewhere along the line. My ex-wife Claire left when Lena was 3. Just packed 2 suitcases and moved in with a dental hygienist named Rick. Sent birthday cards for 2 years, then nothing. I got full custody by default and spent the next 2 decades trying to be both parents at once. Clearly, I'd screwed something up. The attic floor creaked beneath me. I froze, listening. The house below remained silent. It was just past 9 in the evening. I'd left at 7, drove around the block a few times, parked 3 streets over, and snuck back through the side gate like a criminal. This was insane. Maybe George had it wrong. Maybe he'd seen Lena helping drunk friends to the door, being a good person, and his old eyes had misinterpreted it. Maybe. I checked my watch. 9:15. The front door opened. I heard Lena's voice first, bright and welcoming in a way she never used with me. "Come on, it's fine. He's gone for 3 days. We've got the whole place." Footsteps, multiple sets. Heavy boots, sneakers squeaking on the hardwood. "You sure?" A male voice, young, uncertain. "I'm positive. My dad works nights constantly. He doesn't even notice when I'm here half the time." Laughter. 3 distinct voices, maybe 4. I pressed my eye to a gap between the floorboards. Couldn't see much. Just moving shadows and the edge of the couch. "How much again?" Another guy, this one with a thick accent I couldn't place. 20 each. Cash only. You get the couch, the floor, whatever. Just no going upstairs into his room. That's the only rule. $20? She was charging people to stay in my house? "That's cheap as heck," a girl's voice said. "Hotels want like $80. "Yeah, well, I'm not a hotel. This is just crash space. You drink, you sleep it off, you leave in the morning, easy." Bottles clinked. Music started, some bass-heavy track that made the rafters vibrate. I heard the fridge open and close. They were getting into my groceries. I clenched my fists so hard my knuckles went white. Stay calm, listen, learn. "Your dad really doesn't care?" The uncertain guy again. Lena laughed. It was her practice laugh, the one she used when she wanted something. "My dad doesn't care about anything except his stupid job. He's been a pushover my whole life. I could burn this place down and he'd probably apologize for not having better insurance." They all laughed. My chest tightened. "What's he do again?" the girl asked. "Emergency electrical technician. Fixes tram lines and power grids when they break. Which is constantly. So he's never home. I basically live here alone. Must be nice." "It is. I do whatever I want. He pays all the bills, buys all the food, never asks questions. It's like having a live-in maid who also gives me money." More laughter. I wanted to crash through the ceiling and demand answers, but something kept me frozen. Some instinct that told me if I moved now, I'd only get half the truth. "What if he comes back early?" the accent guy asked. "He won't. But if he does, I'll just cry and say you guys are friends from work who needed a place to stay. He'll believe me. He always does." The music got louder. Someone turned on the TV. I heard the pop and hiss of beer cans opening. This was real. George hadn't been confused. This was happening. Had been happening. How long? I tried to remember the last time I'd come home to a quiet house. Weeks ago, maybe longer. There'd always been some excuse. Lena had friends over for a movie, study group, someone's car broke down and they needed to crash. I'd made them breakfast once. 3 kids, maybe 19 or 20, looking uncomfortable at my kitchen table while I scrambled eggs and asked polite questions about college. Lena had ushered them out quickly, said I was embarrassing her. I'd apologized. The memory made me want to scream. "Yo, Lena," the uncertain guy shouted over the music. "You got any food? I'm starving." "Check the fridge. My dad just went shopping yesterday. He always stocks up before trips like I'm going to starve without him." Footsteps into the kitchen. Cabinets opening. "Dang, he's got everything. Sandwich stuff, chips, cookies." "Help yourself. He'll never notice. I eat his food all the time." I'd bought those groceries specifically for her. Spent an hour at the store picking things she liked. She'd said she was trying to eat healthier, so I got fresh vegetables, good bread, lean turkey. She was feeding it to strangers for profit. The anger was different now. Not hot and explosive, but cold, spreading through my chest like frost. "This place is perfect," the girl said. "Can we come back next weekend?" "If you've got cash, sure. I run this every week when he's on night shifts, sometimes twice a week if the scheduling works out." Every week. How much money had she made off my house? Off my exhaustion and trust? I tried to do the math. 20 per person, 3 or 4 people, twice a week. That was over $200 a month. And she'd never paid a single bill. Never bought groceries. I gave her $50 every week for expenses, and she always said it wasn't enough. I'd thought I was failing her. Someone cranked the music up another notch. The bass made my teeth ache. "Keep it down a little," Lena said, but she was laughing. "The neighbor's a paranoid old man. He almost called the cops last week." "What did you tell him?" "That my dad was having a midlife crisis and kept inviting random people over to feel young again. George totally bought it. Looked at me like I was some victim." They thought this was hilarious. I pressed my forehead against the rough wood of the rafter. Splinters bit into my skin, but I didn't care. 23 years old, I'd raised her from diapers to adulthood, worked double shifts to afford her school supplies, her birthday parties, her first car. I'd learned to cook because she deserved home meals. I'd stayed up with her through nightmares and flu and teenage heartbreak. And this was what I got. Below me, someone suggested shots. Lena agreed enthusiastically. Glass clinked. They counted down together and cheered. The uncertain guy asked, "What happened with your mom? She around?" Silence. Brief, uncomfortable. Lena's voice went flat. "She left when I was little. Doesn't matter." "That sucks. Whatever. My dad's enough of a parent for 2 people. He tries so hard, it's honestly pathetic." Laughter again, but this time it felt meaner. I closed my eyes and focused on breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth, slow and steady. Don't move, not yet. "Anyone want to order pizza?" the accent guy asked. "Use my dad's card," Lena said. "It's in the drawer by the fridge, pins written on a sticky note because he can't remember numbers." She gave them my credit card. I heard the drawer open. The guy reading out numbers, an order being placed. Extra large, 3 toppings, breadsticks, $40, easy. The night stretched on. They played drinking games. Someone spilled something and Lena yelled, but then laughed it off. The TV volume went up and down. I heard crashes, maybe bottles being knocked over. Around midnight, 2 of them started arguing. "You said you'd pay me back," the accent guy shouted. "I said maybe," the uncertain guy shot back. "That's not what you said in the car." "I don't have the money right now." Their voices escalated. I heard furniture scraping. Someone said, "Chill out, both of you." Then a crash. Something big and ceramic shattering. Lena screamed. "That was my dad's." I knew what it was before she said it. The vase Claire had bought on our honeymoon. One of the only things she'd left behind. I kept it on the side table, filled with fake flowers because I didn't trust myself to keep real ones alive. "I'm sorry," the uncertain guy said. "It was an accident." "You pushed me into it," the accent guy yelled. "You came at me first." Another crash, more shouting. My hand moved to the attic hatch. I could end this right now. Climb down, throw them all out. Demand explanations. But Lena's voice stopped me. "Everyone shut up. Shut up." She sounded panicked now. "If the neighbor hears this, we're screwed." "So what?" the girl said. "Just tell him the same thing as last time." "It's not that simple. George is watching now. If cops show up again, they'll start asking real questions." Again. Cops had been here before. "What'll you tell them?" the uncertain guy asked. Lena went quiet for a moment. Then, carefully, she said, "I'll say my dad has been acting unstable, inviting strangers over, getting confused. If they ask him, I'll make sure he sounds defensive, paranoid." My breath stopped. "You'd throw your own dad under the bus?" the girl asked. "If I have to. He'll believe whatever I tell him later anyway. I'll cry, say I was protecting him, and he'll feel guilty for doubting me. I've done it before." The rage crystallized, became something solid and purposeful. I stayed in the attic until dawn, listened to them pass out one by one, heard Lena check on them, laughing quietly to herself, heard her climb the stairs to her room and close the door. When the house finally went silent, I didn't move, just sat there in the dust and dark, planning. I waited until 9 in the morning, when I knew Lena would be awake but groggy. The party guests had left around 7, shuffling out in hungover silence. I'd watched through the attic vent as they loaded into a beat-up sedan and drove away without cleaning anything. Lena hadn't cleaned either, just went back to bed. I climbed down slowly, knees protesting. My whole body ached from staying cramped in one position all night. I felt like I'd aged a decade. The living room was a disaster. Beer cans everywhere. Pizza boxes stacked on the coffee table. The vase, Claire's vase, in pieces on the floor, shards scattered like shrapnel. I stood in the center of it and felt nothing. That scared me more than the anger had. I heard Lena's door open upstairs. Footsteps in the hallway, heading toward the bathroom. Water running. I walked to the kitchen, started the coffee maker, pulled out eggs and bread, acted like I'd just come home from a normal trip. 5 minutes later, she appeared in the doorway wearing an oversized shirt and pajama pants. Hair messy, eyes still half closed. "You're back early," she said. "Fixed the problem faster than expected." I cracked eggs into a pan. "Want breakfast?" She hesitated. Something flickered across her face. Worry, maybe guilt, but it vanished quickly. "Sure, thanks." She sat at the table and pulled out her phone, started scrolling. I cooked in silence, scrambled the eggs the way she liked them, soft and buttery, made toast, poured orange juice. When I set the plate in front of her, she didn't look up. "Lena." "Anything happen while I was gone?" She stabbed at the eggs with her fork. "Nope, quiet, boring." "No friends over?" "No parties?" She looked up now, met my eyes directly, didn't flinch. "No, Dad. Why?" I smiled. It felt like wearing a mask. "Just wondering. House seems messier than usual." She glanced around at the disaster zone of a living room visible through the kitchen doorway. "Oh, yeah. I had some people over last night, just for a movie. They left kind of late and I was too tired to clean." "What movie?" She blinked. "What? What did you watch?" I don't remember. Some action thing. Why does it matter?" "Just making conversation." She watched me carefully now. I could see her calculating, trying to figure out if I knew something. I kept smiling. "Anyway," I said, "I'm pretty tired. Gonna catch some sleep. You working today?" "Yeah. Afternoon shift at the store." "Good. Make sure you clean up before you go." She nodded slowly, still watching me like I was a stranger. I finished my coffee, rinsed the cup, and headed upstairs. Felt her eyes on my back the whole way. In my room, I closed the door and pulled out my phone, hands shaking slightly. The anger had settled into something colder, more patient. I opened my contacts and scrolled to a name I hadn't called in almost a year. Noland Burke, Lena's ex-husband. They'd gotten married young. She was barely 21. He was 26. It lasted 14 months before he filed for separation. Lena had told me he was controlling, emotionally abusive. She'd cried on my couch for weeks. I'd believed her completely. But during the proceedings, Noland had tried to talk to me once, asked to meet for coffee, said there were things I should know about Lena, patterns I needed to understand. I'd refused, told him to leave my daughter alone. Now I wondered what he'd been trying to tell me. I hit call before I could talk myself out of it. He answered on the third ring. "Tanner?" "Yeah, hey, I know this is weird. Is Lena okay?" Interesting. After everything, that was his first question. "She's fine. I need to talk to you about something. In person, if you're available." Silence for a moment. "This about her?" he asked carefully. "Yeah." "Okay, I'm free this afternoon. There's a diner on 4th Street. "I know it. 2 o'clock?" "I'll be there." He hung up without saying goodbye. I lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling. My phone buzzed with work emails, but I ignored them. Called in sick for the first time in 3 years. My supervisor sounded shocked. Downstairs, I heard Lena moving around, the vacuum running. She was cleaning, probably assuming that would make everything okay. I closed my eyes and tried to remember the last time I'd felt genuinely happy in this house. Couldn't. Maybe that should have told me something years ago. The diner was exactly the kind of place you'd expect for uncomfortable conversations. Torn vinyl booths, coffee that tasted like it had been brewing since morning, a waitress who looked like she'd heard every sob story in the book and didn't want to hear another. Noland was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth, hands wrapped around a mug. He looked older than I remembered, thinner. There were lines around his eyes that hadn't been there before. I slid into the seat across from him. "Thanks for meeting me," I said. He nodded, studied my face like he was trying to read something written there. "You look tired," he said finally. "I am." The waitress appeared. I ordered coffee. She left without comment. Noland waited until she was out of earshot. Then he said, "What happened?" I told him everything. The conversation with George, hiding in the attic. What I'd heard, what I'd learned. He listened without interrupting, didn't look surprised. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "I tried to warn you," he said softly. "I know." "She told you I was the villain, didn't she? Controlling, aggressive, maybe even harsh. Something like that." He laughed bitterly. "She's good at that, making herself the victim. I fell for it too, at first. That's how we ended up married." My coffee arrived. I wrapped my hands around the cup, needing something to do. "Tell me," I said. Noland sighed, looked out the window at the parking lot. "We met at a bar. She was funny, charming, had this way of making you feel like the most important person in the room. We dated for 3 months, and then she told me she was pregnant. I went still." "What?" "She wasn't, but I didn't know that. So I did what I thought was right. Proposed. We got married at the courthouse. She cried happy tears and told me I'd saved her life. Jesus. 2 months later, she said she'd miscarried. Devastated. I comforted her, said we'd try again when we were ready. Then I found the birth control pills hidden in her makeup bag. The diner suddenly felt too small. I confronted her," Noland continued, "and she admitted it. Said she'd never been pregnant, just needed to lock me down before I figured out who she really was." "Why?" "Security. She'd been living with a roommate who was about to kick her out. No job, no savings. I had both. She saw an opportunity." I thought about all the times Lena had talked about Noland, how he'd isolated her, controlled her money, made her feel worthless. The financial abuse stuff she told me, I started. I asked her to contribute to rent. We had a joint account. She drained it twice to buy things for herself and then claimed I was starving her when I asked her to budget. And the emotional abuse? I asked her to be honest, to stop lying. That made me the villain. He met my eyes. Sound familiar? It did. God help me, it did. "How did you get out?" I asked. I documented everything. Opened a separate bank account she didn't know about. When I filed for separation, I had bank statements, text messages, emails, proof of the lies. The judge saw through her pretty fast. She tried to fight it? She cried in court, told them I'd broken her heart, but my lawyer tore her apart on cross-examination. Every lie she told contradicted something she'd said earlier. It was brutal. He said it without satisfaction, just exhaustion. "After that," he continued, "I moved to a different part of town. Changed my number, haven't spoken to her since." "Do you hate her?" He considered that. "No, I think she's sick. Somewhere along the way, she learned that lying and manipulating gets her what she wants, and she's good at it. Good enough that she believes her own stories. I raised her," I said quietly. "If she's like this, it's my fault." "Is it? You said her mother left when she was 3. Kids don't develop personality disorders from one absent parent. This is deeper than that." "Then what?" "I don't know. Therapy could have helped, maybe, if she'd been willing. But people like Lena don't think they need help. They think everyone else is the problem." I drank my coffee. It had gone lukewarm. "What are you going to do?" Noland asked. "I don't know yet." "Can I give you advice?" "Please." He leaned forward. "Don't enable her anymore. Whatever you're doing, paying her bills, giving her money, letting her live rent-free, stop. She'll never change as long as someone's cleaning up her messes. She's my daughter. I know, and you love her. But sometimes love means letting someone hit bottom." We sat there in silence for a while. I watched cars pull in and out of the parking lot. Normal people living normal lives. Finally, I said, "Did she ever actually care about you? Even a little?" Noland thought about it. I don't know, maybe, in her own way. But her own way is broken, and I couldn't fix it. I paid for both our coffees. We walked out together. In the parking lot, he turned to me. Tanner, one more thing. Yeah? She's going to try to make you the villain. When you stop giving her what she wants, she'll twist everything, make you sound crazy or abusive or cruel. Don't let her get in your head. Trust what you know. I nodded. He drove away in a Prius that looked like it had seen better days. I sat in my truck for 20 minutes, thinking. Then I pulled out my phone and started making calls. The police non-emergency line picked up after 2 rings. A woman's voice, professional and tired. This is dispatch. Hi. I need to report illegal lodging activity at my residence. There was a pause, computer keys clicking. Can you explain the situation, sir? I kept my voice calm, factual, no emotion. My daughter has been allowing multiple adults to stay overnight at my house without my permission. She's charging them money. I believe it violates zoning laws and possibly constitutes an illegal hostile operation. Is this happening currently? It's been ongoing for several weeks. The next occurrence is likely this Friday evening. More typing. And you're the homeowner? Yes, I have documentation, mortgage papers, utility bills in my name. Has anyone been endangered? I thought about the fight, the broken vase, the drunk kids stumbling around. There have been altercations, property damage, noise complaints from neighbors. Name and address, please. I gave them everything. She said an officer would call me within 48 hours to schedule a statement. I thanked her and hung up. Step 1. I spent the rest of the afternoon researching tenant rights, eviction procedures, legal obligations of adult children living with parents. The laws were clearer than I expected. Lena wasn't a tenant, she'd never paid rent, never signed a lease, had no legal claim to the property. She was a licensee at will, which meant I could terminate her right to stay with proper notice. In my state, that meant 30 days. I drafted the notice on my laptop, kept the language formal and cold. This is to inform you that your license to occupy the premises at address is hereby terminated. You are required to vacate within 30 days of receiving this notice. Failure to comply will result in legal action. I printed it, signed it, dated it, then I folded it carefully and put it in my desk drawer. Not yet. I needed the timing to be perfect. Lena came home from work around 8. I was in the living room, reading a book I wasn't actually absorbing. Hey, she said, dropping her purse on the counter. Hey, how was work? Fine. Boring. Same as always. She opened the fridge. We need groceries. I just went shopping 2 days ago. Well, stuff runs out fast. She pulled out sandwich materials. You know how it is? I did. Now. Lena, can we talk for a second? She froze mid-reach for the mayonnaise. About what? I've been thinking about you getting your own place. Silence. She turned slowly. What? You're 23. You have a job. It might be time to think about independence. Her face went through several expressions: shock, confusion, anger. Are you serious right now? I'm just saying, you're kicking me out? I'm not kicking you out. I'm suggesting that maybe it's time to start planning for... Where the heck am I supposed to go? You know I can't afford rent on a cashier's salary. You could get a roommate. Look for a better paying job. There are options. She slammed the mayonnaise jar on the counter. This is unbelievable. After everything I've been through, you want me on the street? That's not what I'm saying. My husband left me. My mother abandoned me. And now you want to throw me away too? There it was. The victim narrative. Right on schedule. Lena, do you have any idea how hard my life has been? I've tried so hard to make things work, and you don't even care. Tears now. Real ones, or at least realistic. I felt the old instinct rising, the need to comfort, to apologize, to fix her pain, but Nolan's voice echoed in my head. Don't enable her anymore. I do care, I said quietly. That's why I'm having this conversation. You need to learn to stand on your own. I can't believe this. She stormed upstairs. Her door slammed hard enough to rattle the frame. I sat there for a long time, listening to her throw things around her room. My phone buzzed. Work again. I ignored it. Around midnight, I heard her door open. Footsteps in the hall. She appeared at the top of the stairs, eyes red. Dad? Yeah? I'm sorry for getting upset. You're right. I should start thinking about the future. I didn't believe her for a second. Okay. Can we just not talk about it for a while? It's overwhelming. Sure. She came down, gave me a hug. It felt calculated. "I love you," she said. "Love you too." She went to her room. I listened to her door close softly this time, and I knew she was planning something. Friday came. I told Lena I had another overnight emergency. Grid failure in the North District. Could be gone until Sunday morning. She tried to hide her excitement. "That sucks. Be safe." "Always am." I left at 6 p.m. Drove to the same spot 3 streets over. Waited until dark. This time I didn't go to the attic. I parked where I could see the front of the house and settled in to watch. The first guests arrived at 8:30, 2 guys in a Honda Civic. They knocked, Lena answered, money changed hands. They went inside. More came at 9. A girl with bright pink hair and a backpack. 3 more at 9:30. By 10, I'd counted 7 people entering my house. At 10:15, my phone rang. George. "Tanner, sorry to bother you. Are you home?" "No, I'm working upstate. Why?" "It's happening again. The noise. There's people going in and out of your place like it's a nightclub." "How many?" "At least half a dozen." "Should I call the police?" I pretended to think about it. "Yeah, go ahead. I'll try to get back as soon as I can." "All right, sorry about this." "Not your fault, George." I hung up and waited. The police arrived 23 minutes later. 2 squad cars, 4 officers. They knocked on the door. Music cut off abruptly. The door opened. I couldn't hear what was being said, but I saw Lena gesturing, probably explaining. One officer went inside, came back out. More discussion. They checked IDs, made phone calls. The body language was serious. After 40 minutes, 2 of the guests were let out in zip cuffs. Minor possession charges, probably. The others filed out looking scared. One girl was crying. The officers talked to Lena for a long time on the porch. She was animated, defensive. One officer took notes. They didn't arrest her, just handed her some papers and left. I waited until everyone was gone, until the house went dark, until I was sure Lena was asleep. Then I drove home. When I walked in at 7 a.m. Saturday morning, Lena was already up, sitting at the kitchen table in yesterday's clothes, her eyes red and swollen. "Dad." "Hey, got done early after all. What's wrong?" She burst into tears. Not the calculated kind from before. These were messy, panicked. "The police came. I set down my bag." "What? Why?" "George called them. Said there was noise. But I just had a couple friends over and—" "How many friends?" She hesitated. "Like 5. Lena." "Okay, 7. But they weren't doing anything wrong. We were just hanging out." "What did the police say?" "They gave me a citation for noise violations and something about illegal lodging. I don't understand. I was just helping people out." "Helping people out?" "They needed a place to crash. I wasn't running a business or anything." I sat down across from her. Let the silence stretch. "Were you charging them?" I asked. Her eyes went wide. "What? No. Who said that?" "Were you?" "Dad, no. Why would you even ask that?" I pulled out my phone, opened a recording app I'd installed days ago, hit play. Her voice filled the kitchen. 20 each, cash only. You get the couch, the floor, whatever. The color drained from her face. "How did you—" "I was in the attic, Lena, that first night. I heard everything." She stood up fast enough to knock her chair over. "You were spying on me." "You were running an illegal hostel out of my house?" "It wasn't illegal. It was just, you charged people money to stay in my home without my permission. You used my groceries, my utilities, my space, all for profit." "That's not—" "And when you thought I might find out, you planned to tell the police I was unstable, confused. You were going to gaslight me to save yourself." She opened her mouth, closed it. No words came. "The police report is going forward," I said. "You'll probably get community service. Maybe a fine." "You reported me?" "I reported the illegal activity happening at my address. I'm your daughter. And I'm a homeowner who's been violated, repeatedly." She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. "What happened to you?" I woke up. I stood and walked past her toward the stairs. "Dad, please. We'll talk more later. I need sleep." I left her standing there, shaking. Lena's case processed quickly. 20 hours of community service over 4 weeks. No criminal record, just a citation. She complained the system was corrupt and that George had a personal vendetta, but I only asked, when does it start? They assigned her to municipal park cleanup. Saturdays, 8 to noon. Trash pickup, graffiti removal, simple maintenance. The first Saturday, she asked me for a ride. "Take the bus," I said. "It's 5 miles. "Leave early." You're really not driving me? Nope. What if it rains? Bring an umbrella. She stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to knock a picture frame off the wall. I put the photo in a drawer instead of rehanging it. The house changed after that, quieter but tense, like the air before something breaks. I made small adjustments. I stopped buying her favorite foods, only basic stock now. If she wanted snacks, she could pay for them. I stopped doing her laundry and left anything of hers in a basket outside her door. I cut off her weekly allowance. How am I supposed to pay my phone bill? She demanded. With money you earn. You always helped with that? I'm not helping anymore. She reacted with outrage, accusations, cheap emotional shots, especially comparisons to her mother, knowing they'd sting. I took it all without responding, and slowly I saw it, the panic setting in, the realization that her safety net was disappearing. Good. 2 weeks after the police incident, Nolan texted me. How's it going? I called him instead of texting back. She's unraveling, I said. How so? I told him about the community service, the withdrawn support, her escalating anger. Has she tried to manipulate you into reversing course? He asked. Constantly. Yesterday she said she was thinking about hurting herself, asked if I'd feel guilty when she ended up in the hospital. Jesus. I told her if she was having those thoughts, I'd drive her to the emergency room right now. She backtracked immediately. Nolan was quiet for a moment. You're doing better than I did. I caved like 3 times before I got out. It's hard. I know, but you're doing the right thing. Am I? I keep wondering if I'm just being vindictive. Do you want revenge, or do you want her to change? I thought about that. Honestly, both. That's fair. She hurt you. But the revenge only works if she faces real consequences. Otherwise, you're just another person she steamrolled. The eviction notice is still in my drawer. You haven't given it to her. Not yet. I want her to think things might stabilize. Let her guard down. That's cold. She called me pathetic. Said I'd believe anything. I'm returning the favor. Nolan laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Careful, Tanner. Don't lose yourself in this. Too late. After we hung up, I sat on the porch and watched the neighborhood settle into evening. Kids riding bikes, couples walking dogs, George across the street watering his lawn. He waved, I waved back. Normal life happening all around me. I didn't feel part of it anymore. The explosion came on a Wednesday. I got home from work around 8 p.m. Lena's car was in the driveway, which was unusual. She normally worked until 9. Inside, the house smelled like Chinese takeout. I heard voices in the living room, 2 voices. I walked in and found Lena on the couch with a guy I didn't recognize. Early 20s, tattoos up both arms, wearing a leather jacket despite the heat. Dad, you're home early. My shift ended at 7. Who's this? The guy stood up, offered his hand. Jake, nice to meet you, sir. I didn't shake it, just looked at Lena. We were just studying, she said quickly. Studying what? Job applications. Jake's helping me look for better work. The takeout containers on the coffee table suggested otherwise. So did the beer bottles. You have work tomorrow? I asked Jake. Yeah. Morning shift at the warehouse. Then you should probably go. Lena stood up. Dad, don't be rude. I'm not being rude. I'm being clear. It's a weeknight. I'm tired. I want to relax in my own house. Jake grabbed his jacket. It's cool, Lena. I'll text you later. You don't have to leave. Yes, he does. Jake left quickly, sensing the tension. The door clicked shut behind him. Lena turned on me immediately. What the heck was that? Who is he? A friend? Where'd you meet him? At work. He shops there sometimes. And you invited him here? It's not a big deal. After what happened with the police, after everything, you invited another stranger into my house? He's not a stranger, and this is my house too. No, I said quietly. It's not. Her face went red. What's that supposed to mean? I walked past her to the kitchen. Got a glass of water. She followed. It means you don't pay rent. You don't pay utilities. You don't buy groceries. You contribute nothing. I contribute by being here, by being your daughter. That's not a contribution. That's just existence. I can't believe you're saying this. I finished the water, set the glass down carefully. I've been thinking, I said, about what we discussed a few weeks ago. You getting your own place. She went very still. No. I think it's time. No. Dad, no, I'm not ready. You're 23. I don't have enough saved. Then you'll need to figure it out. You can't do this. Yes, I can. It's my house. She grabbed my arm. Her grip was tight, desperate. Please, I'll be better. I'll help more. I'll pay rent. How much rent? Whatever you want. $600 a month. She blanched. That's almost all my paycheck. Welcome to adulthood. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, Lena. You taught me that. I pulled my arm free and headed for the stairs. Behind me, she screamed, I hate you. I stopped, turned. No, you don't. You hate that you can't manipulate me anymore. Her face crumpled. Real tears this time, I thought, or maybe just better acting. I'm your daughter. Doesn't that mean anything? It used to mean everything. Then I learned what you really think of me. I was just venting. Everyone vents. You were charging people to stay in my house, using my food, my money, my trust, and you planned to throw me under the bus if you got caught. I wouldn't have actually. Yes, you would have, and we both know it. I went upstairs and locked my bedroom door, heard her sobbing in the living room, heard things being thrown, a glass breaking, didn't go back down. The next morning, the eviction notice was taped to her bedroom door. I did it while she was in the shower, just unfolded it, pressed it against the wood, and secured it with packing tape. Then I left for work before she could see it. My phone blew up around 9 a.m. 17 missed calls, 32 texts. They ranged from pleas to threats, with some mentioning feelings of hopelessness. I responded to only one. Call a crisis line if you're genuinely struggling, otherwise you have 30 days. She called immediately. I didn't pick up. At lunch, George came up to me in the front yard. Everything okay over there? I heard a lot of yelling yesterday. Family stuff. We're working through it. That girl of yours, she came over this morning, asked if I'd testify that you've been acting erratic. My stomach dropped. What did you say? I said no. Told her I've known you 15 years, and you're the most stable person on the block. He paused. She trying to cause trouble? She's trying to avoid consequences. George nodded slowly. She was always good at that, even when she was little. I remember her blaming the neighbor's kid for breaking your fence when I'd seen her do it with my own eyes. You never told me that. Figured you knew. Parents usually do. But I hadn't known. Or I'd known and ignored it. Thanks, George. Sure thing. And Tanner? Whatever you're dealing with, you've got my support. He went back inside. I stood there in the yard, feeling the weight of years pressing down. The next 2 weeks were psychological warfare. Lena tried everything. First, she played victim. Showed up in the living room with pamphlets for homeless shelters. Left them on the coffee table where I'd see them. Talked loudly on the phone about how scared she was to live on the streets. I ignored it. Then she tried bargaining. Offered to get a second job. Promised to pay half the bills. Said she'd clean the whole house every day if I'd just reconsider. The notice stands, I said. She switched to anger. Told me I was heartless. That her mother had been right to leave. That I'd failed her as a father, and this was proof. I let her talk herself out. When nothing worked, she tried sabotage. Small things at first. My work clothes disappeared from the dryer. Food I'd bought for my lunches went missing. The hot water mysteriously ran out right when I needed to shower. I documented everything, took photos, made notes. She was building a case in her head. Probably thought if she could make me explode, she could claim I was unstable. Abusive. But I didn't explode. I just got colder. 3 weeks into the 30-day notice, I came home to find my bedroom door open. I always locked it. Always. Inside, things had been moved. Not stolen, just rearranged. My desk drawer hung open. Papers were shuffled. She'd been looking for something. Probably anything she could use against me. I found her in her room, on her phone. When I appeared in the doorway, she looked up with artificial innocence. Hey, what's up? Stay out of my room. I needed to borrow a pen. I don't care what you needed. My room is off limits. If you go in there again, I'm changing the locks tonight and you're sleeping on the couch until you leave. You wouldn't try me. She saw something in my face that made her go quiet. Fine, sorry, won't happen again. I left before I could say something worse. The weekend before her deadline, Lena tried one last manipulation. Saturday morning, I woke up to find her gone. Her car still in the driveway, but her purse and phone missing. I waited an hour, then 2. Around noon, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Is this Tanner Ravel? A woman's voice, professional. Yes. This is County General Hospital. We have a Lena Ravel here. She listed you as her emergency contact. My stomach dropped. What happened? Is she okay? She's stable, but she came in this morning expressing thoughts of harming herself. We're keeping her for evaluation. I drove to the hospital, pushing the speed limit. The psychiatric ward was on the 4th floor. A nurse escorted me to a waiting room and informed me the doctor would speak with me soon. Dr. Peterson appeared 10 minutes later, tired-looking woman in scrubs. Mr. Ravel, I've been working with your daughter. How is she? Physically fine. Mentally, it's complicated. She came in saying she'd been having intrusive thoughts about harming herself, but during the evaluation, some things didn't add up. What things? She couldn't describe the thoughts clearly, gave vague answers. When I asked if she had a plan, she said no immediately, which is unusual for someone in genuine crisis. My stomach settled slightly. You think she's lying? I think she's in distress, but not the kind she's claiming. This feels more like manipulation of a situation. She's being evicted from my house in a week. Dr. Peterson's expression shifted, understanding. That would do it. We'll keep her for 72 hours of observation. If she's genuinely at risk, we'll move her to inpatient care. If not, she'll be released. The eviction stands either way. The doctor nodded slowly. Don't let threats be leverage. People who use them as manipulation rarely stop unless the manipulation stops working. I thanked her and left. Sat in my truck in the parking lot for a while. Then I drove home. She called me that evening from a hospital phone. Dad? Yeah. Did they tell you what happened? They did. I was really scared. I didn't know what else to do. The doctors are taking good care of you. Silence. You're not coming back? I was already there, spoke with Dr. Peterson. But aren't you going to stay with me? No. Dad, please. You have 72 hours of professional care. That's more than I can provide. I need you. What you need is to face consequences. The eviction notice is still valid. You have 7 days when you're released. You're really going to make me homeless? You're making yourself homeless by refusing to plan. There are shelters, roommate listings, options. I hate you. I know. I hung up. 3 days later, she was released. The hospital determined she wasn't a danger to herself. When she came home, she didn't speak to me, just went to her room and slammed the door. 5 days left, day 28. I came home from work to find the house suspiciously quiet. Lena's car was gone. Her bedroom door was open, and when I looked inside, nothing had been packed. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. This is Jake. Lena's really messed up right now. She's at my place. She said you're throwing her out for no reason. That's messed up, man. I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I blocked the number. An hour later, Lena walked through the front door. Her eyes were red, makeup smeared. She looked at me standing in the kitchen, and her face crumpled. I can't do this. Can't do what? Find a place, move out, start over. I can't. You can. You just don't want to. What's the difference? Everything. She sat down at the table, put her head in her hands. What if I promise to change? Really change this time? You've promised that before. This time I mean it. You meant it then, too, until you didn't. She looked up at me with something close to desperation. What do you want from me? Nothing. Not anymore. Then why are you doing this? Because you used me, mocked me, planned to destroy me if I got in your way. I was just talking. People say things they don't mean. You meant it, and now you're facing what happens when someone finally stops believing your lies. She stood up fast, knocking her chair backward. Fine, fine. You want me gone? I'll be gone, and you'll regret this for the rest of your life. Maybe, but at least it'll be my life, not yours. She grabbed her keys and left again. Didn't come back until after midnight. Day 29. I woke up to sounds downstairs. Voices, multiple voices. It was 3 a.m. I got dressed and walked down quietly. The living room was full of people, 6, maybe 7, music playing low, beer bottles everywhere. Lena in the center of it, laughing too loud. She saw me and her expression turned defiant. Oh, you're awake. What is this? A party. My last night in this house. Figured I'd go out with a bang. One of the guys, college-age, drunk, raised his beer. Your daughter's awesome, man. I looked at Lena. Get them out. No. Lena, you can't tell me what to do anymore. Tomorrow I'm gone anyway. So tonight, I do whatever I want. The defiance in her eyes was absolute. This was her final play. Chaos. Revenge for her revenge. I pulled out my phone. What are you doing? She asked. Calling the police. Her face went white. You wouldn't. Watch me. I dialed. She lunged forward, tried to grab the phone. I stepped back. 911, what's your emergency? I have multiple trespassers in my home. The homeowner? I looked at Lena. My daughter invited them without permission. I want them removed, Lena screamed. Actual screaming. The partygoers started scrambling, grabbing jackets and bags. Sir, are you in danger? No, but I want them out of my house immediately. Officers are on the way. And the guests ran. Out the front door, through the backyard, one guy tried climbing out a window. Within 90 seconds, the house was empty except for me and Lena. She stood there shaking. With rage or fear, I couldn't tell. They're going to arrest me again. Maybe. This is what you want? Your daughter in trouble? My daughter put herself in trouble. I'm just uncovering for her. Sirens in the distance. Lena ran upstairs. I heard her door lock. 2 officers arrived 5 minutes later. I explained the situation calmly. Showed them the eviction notice. Explained this was a last-ditch attempt at retaliation. They took notes. Asked if I wanted to press charges. No, I just want documentation. She leaves tomorrow. Understood. We'll include this in our report. After they left, I sat on the couch in the disaster zone of my living room and waited for sunrise. Upstairs, Lena's room stayed silent. Day 30. I woke her up at 8 a.m., knocked on her door until she opened it. It's time. She looked at me with eyes that had cried themselves dry. I don't have anywhere to go. That's not my problem anymore. Dad? You have until noon. After that, I'm changing the locks. I went downstairs and made coffee, sat at the table and waited. At 9, she came down with a duffel bag, started throwing things into it. Clothes, toiletries, random items from shelves. Can I take the microwave? She asked. No. The TV in my room? I bought it. It stays. She made 3 trips to her car, each time passing through the living room where I sat, not looking at me. At 11:30, she stood in the doorway with her keys in hand. This is really it? Yes. You're really going to let me leave like this? You're leaving yourself. Where am I supposed to sleep tonight? There's a women's shelter on 5th Street. They have beds available. A shelter? You want me in a shelter? I want you to figure out your own life. She laughed, bitter and broken. You're a terrible father. Maybe, but you're a worse daughter. She flinched as though I'd struck her. For a split second, I saw true pain in her eyes. Not manipulation, not a performance. Genuine hurt. Then it shifted into something colder. Pure hatred. I hope you end up alone, she said. Probably will. She left, drove away in her beat-up Honda without looking back. I sat there for a long time. The house felt different, lighter, emptier. I changed the locks at 1 p.m. All the doors, every window latch. My phone rang constantly. Lena, unknown numbers, more texts from Jake. I ignored all of it. A week passed. The house stayed quiet. I went to work, came home, ate dinner alone, slept without listening for chaos downstairs. It should have felt like victory. Mostly it just felt like exhaustion. George came over on Saturday with a casserole. Heard she moved out, he said. Yeah. You doing okay? I don't know yet. He nodded. Didn't push. Just left the casserole and went home. Noland called that evening. How'd it go? She's gone. How do you feel? Like I amputated part of myself. That's normal. Doesn't mean it was wrong. She told me I'd end up alone. She said that to hurt you. Doesn't make it true. I wasn't sure about that. 10 days after the eviction, I got a call from an unknown number. Almost didn't answer. Hello? Mr. Ravel? This is Dana from Community Services. Your daughter listed you as a reference for housing assistance. I closed my eyes. What does she need? She's applying for a subsidized apartment. We need to verify some information about her living situation. What do you want to know? Was she living with you previously? Yes. Why did she leave? I could lie. Make it sound mutual. Help her get the apartment. I evicted her. She was running an illegal lodging operation out of my house and received a citation from the police. Silence on the line. I see. Thank you for your honesty. Will that hurt her application? It's just one factor we consider. We hung up. My phone exploded 30 minutes later. Lena calling, texting, screaming through voicemail about how I'd sabotaged her again. I blocked her number. 2 weeks after the eviction, things started getting weird. My work truck was keyed in the parking lot. Nothing stolen, just long scratches down both sides. Someone kept calling my office asking for me, then hanging up when transferred. A package arrived at my house. Inside was a framed photo of Lena as a child. The glass was shattered. No note. I knew it was her, or her friends, trying to make me feel guilty, trying to break me down. It just made me more certain I'd done the right thing. 3 weeks out, Jake showed up at my house. I was in the garage, organizing tools, when he knocked on the open door. "Mr. Ravel?" I turned. He looked uncomfortable, hands in his pockets. "You need to leave." "Just hear me out. Lena's in a bad place. She's crashing on my couch, but I can't keep her there forever. She's got no money, no plan. You really gonna let her suffer like this? She made her choices. She's your daughter, man. And she used me, repeatedly, knowingly. Everyone makes mistakes. This wasn't a mistake. It was a pattern, and I'm done enabling it." Jake shifted his weight. "Look, I get you're mad, but she needs help. Then help her. Get her a job application. Drive her to interviews. Teach her budgeting. Do all the things I did for 23 years while she lied to my face. That's not fair. Life's not fair. She taught me that. You're really going to turn your back on her? I already did, 3 weeks ago, and I'll do it again every day if I have to." Jake stared at me for a long moment, then shook his head. "You're cold, man." "I'm awake." He left. I went back to organizing tools and didn't think about it again. 4 weeks after the eviction, I came home to find someone had tried to break in. The back door frame was splintered, lock damaged. They hadn't gotten in, the deadbolt held, but they'd tried hard. I called the police, filed a report. They asked if I had enemies. "Just one," I said. They took notes but couldn't prove anything. I installed a security system the next day, cameras covering every entrance. 2 days later, the cameras caught her, Lena, at 2 a.m., trying the back door. When it didn't open, she stood there for 5 minutes, staring at the house. Then she left. I saved the footage, but didn't call the police, just watched her walk away on the recording and felt nothing. 6 weeks out, Noland called. She contacted me. "Lena." "Yeah, asked if I'd talk to you, convince you to let her come back." "What did you say?" "That I wasn't her messenger service. She got angry, said I'd poisoned you against her." "Sounds about right." "She also said she's staying with some guy named Jake, that he's been really supportive." "Good for her." "Tanner, you sound different." "How?" "Harder, flatter." "Maybe that's who I actually am. Maybe I was just pretending to be soft for her sake." Noland was quiet for a moment. "Don't lose yourself completely." "Too late." We hung up. I looked around my empty house and felt the weight of silence pressing down. But it was a clean silence. Honest. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. 8 weeks after the eviction, Lena came back. I was leaving for work at 6 a.m. when I saw her. Sitting on my porch steps, wrapped in a jacket too thin for the weather. She looked smaller than I remembered. Tired. "Dad." I stopped at the bottom of the steps. "What are you doing here?" "I need to talk to you." "We have nothing to talk about. Please, just 5 minutes." I checked my watch. "I have work. I'll be quick." Something in her voice made me pause. Not manipulation, just exhaustion. 2 minutes, I said. She stood up slowly. "Jake kicked me out. I've been staying at the shelter, but they have a 30-day limit. I don't know what to do. Get a job, find a roommate, figure it out. I've been trying. Nobody wants to hire me. I can't afford a room on what I make at the store. That's not my problem. I'm your daughter. You stopped being my daughter when you chose to betray me." She stepped closer. "I made mistakes. I'm sorry. Can't we move past this?" "No." "Why not?" "Because you're not actually sorry. You're just desperate." Her face twisted. "You don't know that." "Yes, I do. Because if Jake hadn't kicked you out, you wouldn't be here. This isn't about making amends. It's about survival." "What's the difference?" "Everything." I moved past her toward my truck. She grabbed my arm. "Dad, please. I'll do anything. I'll pay rent. I'll follow rules. Just let me come home." I pulled free. "This isn't your home anymore. Where am I supposed to go?" "That's for you to figure out." I got in my truck and drove away. In the rearview mirror, I saw her standing in my driveway, watching me leave. Felt good watching her stand there, helpless. She came back 2 days later, at midnight, pounding on the door. Dad, let me in." I woke up, checked the security camera on my phone. She was on the porch, clearly distressed. I stayed in bed, smiled in the dark. "I know you're in there. Please, I'm freezing." The pounding continued for 10 minutes, then stopped. When I checked the camera again, she was gone. Perfect. Day 3, she tried a different approach. I came home to find her sitting in her car in my driveway. When I got out, she did too. I'm not leaving until we talk. Then you'll be here a while. I went inside and locked the door, made myself dinner, watched TV, checked the camera periodically. She stayed for 6 hours, just sitting in her car, occasionally checking her phone. I enjoyed every minute of it. Eventually, she left. This pattern continued for a week, her showing up at random times, trying different strategies. Anger one day, tears the next, bargaining the day after. I stopped responding completely. Each time she showed up more desperate, I felt more satisfied. This was exactly what she deserved. Every sleepless night she'd given me, every lie she'd told, every time she'd mocked me. It was all coming back to her now, and I was finally the one in control. 3 months after the eviction, it finally came to a head. I got home from work to find Lena's car in the driveway again, but this time she wasn't alone. Jake was with her, and 2 other people I didn't recognize. They were unloading boxes from Jake's truck. I parked and got out slowly, energy surging through me. This was it. "What's going on?" Lena turned to me, rage in her eyes. "I'm moving back in." "No, you're not." "This is my house, too. I grew up here. You can't keep me out." "The law says I can, and I will." Jake stepped forward. "Man, just let her stay. She's got nowhere else." "Not my problem. Never was." One of the other guys, big, tattooed, moved closer. "Maybe you should make it your problem." I pulled out my phone, started dialing. Calm, controlled. "Who are you calling?" Lena demanded. "Police." She lunged at me, tried to grab the phone. I stepped back easily and she stumbled. Jake caught her. "You're really going to have her arrested," he said. "I'm having all of you arrested for trespassing." The big guy moved fast, grabbed the front of my shirt. "Put the phone down. Get your hands off me." He shoved me backward. I hit the side of my truck hard. Didn't care. This was evidence. "Dad," Lena's voice triumphant. "See what you made them do?" I straightened up, phone still in hand. Adrenaline pumping. "Last chance. Leave now or the police come." "We're not leaving," Lena said. "This ends today, one way or another." She moved toward the house with one of the boxes. I stepped in front of her. "Move," she said. "No." "Move!" She shoved me hard. I didn't budge, just stared her down. Jake grabbed her arm. "Lena, this isn't worth it. Let go of me." She was spiraling, completely losing it. Years of manipulation crashing down. The 911 operator answered. "What's your emergency?" "I have 4 trespassers on my property refusing to leave. One of them physically attacked me." "Are you in danger right now?" The big guy stepped forward again. Lena screamed at Jake. The 4th person was recording everything on their phone. "Yes," I said clearly. "Officers are on the way." Sirens, already close. I'd called them 5 minutes ago from inside the truck. Lena heard them. Her face went white. "No. No, no, no." She ran to her car, started throwing boxes back in. Jake and the others scrambled to help. "It's too late," I called out. Couldn't keep the satisfaction from my voice. "They're coming either way." "I hate you," she screamed. "I hate you." "Good," I shouted back. Finally, some honesty. 2 squad cars pulled up. 4 officers. I'd requested backup. Lena stood in the driveway, surrounded by boxes, breathing hard, trapped. The lead officer approached me. "You're the homeowner?" "Yes, these people are trespassing. That one," I pointed at the big guy, "assaulted me. I want them all removed and arrested. That's my daughter. These are my friends. We weren't doing anything wrong. You were trying to force entry into my home after I legally evicted you 90 days ago. You've been harassing me for months." The officer looked at Lena. "Is that true?" She opened her mouth, closed it. The lies wouldn't come anymore. "Ma'am, I need you to leave this property. This is my home. Do you pay rent here?" "No, but are you on the deed?" "It's my father's house, but I grew up here." "Then it's not your home. You need to leave." "Where am I supposed to go?" The officer's expression didn't change. "That's not my concern. Leave now or you'll be arrested for trespassing." Lena looked at me, really looked at me, maybe seeing for the first time that this was real, that I'd won. "You're really doing this," she said quietly. "Absolutely." I smiled, cold and hard. "After everything we've been through, everything I've survived, you're throwing me away like garbage." "No, I'm throwing away garbage. There's a difference." Something broke in her face. She grabbed one of the boxes, hurled it at me. Clothes and random items exploded across the driveway. 2 officers moved in immediately, grabbed her arms as she thrashed. "No, let me go." They pulled her toward the squad car. She was screaming, crying, fighting them with everything she had. Jake and the others backed away slowly, hands up. "We're leaving," Jake said. "We're leaving, okay?" They got in the truck and drove off fast. Cowards. Lena was still fighting the officers. Kicking, thrashing. "Dad, Dad, don't let them do this, please." I walked closer, looked her right in the eyes through the chaos. "You did this to yourself. Please, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry this time." Too late. The officers wrestled her into the back of the car. She pressed her face against the window, still screaming, hands pounding on the glass. I stood there and watched, felt the victory surge through me like electricity. This was justice. The lead officer came back to me. "We'll take her to the station. She'll be processed for trespassing and assault. You'll need to file a formal report." "Absolutely. I want every charge possible." "We'll be in touch." They drove away, Lena's face pressed to the rear window in a silent scream. I stood in the driveway surrounded by her scattered belongings, boxes, clothes, everything she'd dragged through my life. I called waste management. "I need a special pickup. Tonight." An hour later, I hauled every box to the curb. Every photo, every outfit, every reminder she'd ever lived here. The truck arrived, and I watched it all get crushed into nothing. Perfect. I went inside, poured the good whiskey, and sat in my silent living room. No footsteps overhead, no lies, no manipulation, no ungrateful daughter draining me dry. Just peace. My phone buzzed. "Noland." "How'd it end?" I texted back. "Complete victory." He sent a thumbs up. I finished my drink, made another, and looked around my quiet, spotless house. 23 years I'd given her, 23 years of sacrifice. And she'd called me pathetic, used my home like a hotel, and planned to destroy me if I stood in her way. Instead, she ended up in mine. I raised my glass to the empty room, to consequences. I drank and smiled.